So gelatin printing or jelly monoprinting is something that is kind of popular, and you can buy a commercial gelatin plate that looks like this. They come in different sizes and different shapes. I actually decided when I wanted to try gelatin printing, I decided to make my own before I invested in a jelly plate. And honestly, I never use this because I kind of like my homemade plates. Be they ever so humble, there are a lot of advantages to these. So if you want to learn how to jelly print, if jelly printing is something you want to try, it's a very simple thing to make a gelatin plate that looks like this. It's kind of a giant jello jiggler type thing. And I can show you the process of how to jelly print, but I want to just quickly show you the steps for making and remaking a jelly plate. So it really only takes three ingredients: hot water, which everybody has, the kind of unflavored gelatin that you can get in the little box. There are a lot of different companies that make it. And then the tricky one is glycerin. Usually glycerin, the only glycerin I could find in my hometown was at the pharmacy in a little glass bottle, and it was expensive. But I've learned that online you can order food grade glycerin in larger containers, and this will last me a really long time. So the reason I really like a gelatin plate is that I can reuse them over and over. If one of my plates starts to get a little banged up or damaged on the edges, I can tear it up, cut it up, pull it apart. They're pretty tough, but I can take scissors and cut these apart, put it in one of these, and melt it in the microwave. So I'm going to do that and then show you how to pour. Okay?
Mm-hmm. All right, you're good.
So I go to the dollar store and get these little metal pans. And there also is usually some kind of a glass cutting board that happens to fit right on top of there. So if you're teaching a class, you can certainly buy more expensive supplies, but for me, I want to be able to do this affordably with Girl Scout troops or teach it to groups of people. So it's nice to be able to have some affordable materials. This surface, by the way, that I'm working on is a dollar store liner, shower curtain liner. So you can pretty much equip yourself for $3, $4, $5 a person once you factor in the cost of the materials. So this is the water, gelatin, and glycerin mix. I just mix it together. I gave it a little nuke in the microwave to make sure that it was nice and liquid. And I'm going to pour it here. It smells a little bit like a petting zoo because the gelatin is an animal product. And this one actually has some tiny bits of paint in it because I included a meltdown of a previous plate. The beauty of a handmade plate is that you can remelt these over and over and pour them in different shapes. So basically, all I have to do is to pour the liquid into this plate, and then I'm going to it's got a few little bubbles on the top, and I can just take a card and scoop the bubbles kind of to the side and up the side there, just so that I have a surface that's not very bubbly. I am in my 50s, and so I get those lovely AARP cards that are these big plastic. Those are perfect for this. I'm always happy to get my junk mail. So once that's been smoothed, I'm just going to set it aside and leave it overnight. But what you end up with once it stiffens is something like this. I used a pie plate for this one. A word or two about what you cast these in. If I'm doing little ones for making cards or for a class, I'll sometimes use something as small as these little, again, dollar store Tupperwares. The little sandwich boxes work nicely, and they have a lid for them. They're easy to store. The one thing to consider if you're using a container, get this guy out of here, is that if it has a little belly button in the bottom there, you're also going to have a little dent in the center of your jelly plate. This side is perfect. This side is beautiful and usable, but it's nice to be able to flip a jelly plate and get some more use out of it. So watch out for that little. Sometimes there's just in a plastic container, there's a little spot that you can carve off with a razor blade. So this was just a pie pan. I flattened down the letters in there in the middle a little bit with a spoon. But the reason I want to show you this is when you're ready to take this out of the pan, you're going to kind of press down at the edge like this and pull it away. You can tear these, and so you want to be a little gentle with it. What I've found is they feel a little fragile when they're first made, but every time I remake and re-pour a jelly plate, it gets sturdier. But this is really, comparatively, it's affordable, it's usable, it's durable, and I actually found a round dollar store cutting board that I can put this on. What I will generally do, because these have this funny edge, is that I can come back here with an X-Acto blade and trim that edge. But as you can tell, looking at my materials and supplies, I'm not super fussy. The nice thing about a clear plate like this is that you can, if you have a classroom full of beginners, or if you're a beginner yourself, you can pick it up and look at the back of it and kind of get an idea. You can see what the layers look like and what your print is likely to look like. So you can make these any size. They tend to get darker as they get re-poured. If they're really painty, you can see there's little tiny specks of paint in there. I'll sometimes pour it through a dollar store sieve, just if I have chunks of paint in it. And the older they are, the darker they get, but they also get really sturdy. I tend to store these by just stacking the plates like this. I leave them in a kitchen cupboard. As long as they're dry when I put them away, these will sit there for a year. They don't need refrigeration. They don't mold. They don't do anything weird. Depending where your workspace is, you will occasionally get a mouse that wants to nibble the edges of these. So, but in general, it's a really low maintenance way to make more than one, which is great if you're teaching a class. And it's also nice if you work like I do, where you have a lot going on all at once. Now, if you're teaching adults, the same dollar store where I bought my brownie pan also had really ugly artwork that I bought for $1, threw away the artwork and kept the glass. I just duct taped the edges. This is better for working with adults because they're pretty thin and they crack easily. The cutting boards I like a little better. Sometimes also, if you go to resale places or scrap for art places, you can find little pieces of glass like this. I've been known to stop, get old storm windows or old paned windows off the curb. Any place you can get glass, a piece of glass like this that doesn't have a sharp edge, you can use that to make a jelly plate.